here we are. We are doing video interview, me, Zita Harkaran, with Michael James Garber from Oregon. He's talking to us from over there, and we got together because we want to do a workshop together, something that combines Kundalini practices that awaken the spirit within, the Kundalini inside, and brings us into higher consciousness, and then the techniques of hypnotherapy, which allows you to see a larger picture of your life, right? The larger journey of your soul. And so that you can travel into the past, see your guides, and go into the future. And it's kind of been my dream to do this, and I'm so glad that I met Michael and that he's coming to New York, and we're going to do this in person. And yes, and he's really good at this stuff and has lots of experience. So stay with us, and you'll learn everything about the soul journey, the past lives, the hypnotherapy, and how you can, see more what's beyond the veil of who you are. So, please, Michael, tell us a little bit about yourself, about your background, and
Yeah. So I was born in Pennsylvania in a really small town called Waynesburg. I was born into a family that was Christian. We went to church every Sunday, and from a really young age, I was really interested in the sacred space that at that time was the church that I went to. At a really young age, I was really interested in the Christ energy and felt this affinity towards the teachings of love of the Christ. Early on in my childhood, I had a lot of challenges. I was a gay person before I even really knew what that meant, but it seemed to be that the people around me knew what that meant or what they thought it was. And I had a tragedy in my childhood. My younger brother passed away quite young in an accident. So really right away, there was just a lot of pressure.
how old were you?
I was 11 years old when this happened.
Wow.
It was really around the same time that I was starting to, just feel really uncomfortable and feel really different around people. And I didn't know what that meant. And then the difference was something that was scary. I was trying really hard to blend into the community and with the people that were around me. But I always felt different. And later on, I found out maybe a little bit more about what that difference was and how it was actually part of my power in my life and not so much something that was oppressive for me. So I also, with all that stuff that happened to me, I started using drugs really young and quite heavily for a number of years. And all of the stereotypes that come with addiction, the crime, the lying, the hiding, I kind of had a couple different masks that I would wear, one with my family, one with my friends that were of a certain group, and then another mask that I would wear with other friends, and was constantly juggling this identity while always trying to blend in, kind of be like a chameleon. So I moved to New York City in I want to say around 2009 or 2008, around maybe even a little earlier than that. But anyway, I moved to New York and was dancing there, dancing professionally in New York City and training really hard. And I came into yoga as a way to counter practice what I was doing with dance. And at the time, it was really for relaxation and to get my body balanced. Around 2010, I had this really powerful experience where I saw myself in an infinite space. It was a vision that I had. And in this vision, in this empty space, I was with a few other people that at the time I revered as more spiritually awakened than me. I didn't have language for it then, but they had something that was, that was attractive to me. And in this
Did you know them, or they were just?
They
okay.
were teachers of mine. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And in this vision, I saw myself with them in this empty space, this really peaceful, beautiful space. And from this space, I could also see the earth below me. And in the earth, I could see all of the stories, all of the drama, all of the beauty, um, and all of the stories that people were carrying. And telepathically in this vision, these two people told me that I had a choice, that I could be with them in this infinite space, or I could join again into the story, into the drama. So
Mm.
out of this vision, not really knowing what had happened to me, and really starting to begin the questioning of my life, of
Mm.
who I am and what's the bigger story of who I am. So from that point, I started to study a little bit more yoga, and then a few other events happened, and ended up having to leave New York City, and I joined a yoga teacher training, and I went simply just to learn another skill that I could use when I went back to New York City. Maybe in my mind, that's where I was going then.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went to this yoga teacher training, I got so much more than just a physical practice, and I really started to unpack all of this baggage that I was carrying around.
Mm-hmm. You know, I'm just going to like intercept a little bit while you take a breath, right? Um, it's I talk to so many people, and even though they don't end up teaching yoga, it's mostly the yoga that really gets them into the spiritual space and discovering, you know, and they might end up like in very different fields, but I feel like the yoga, it's like this opening that really allows for for soul to a little bit blossom and come out from the hiding.
And in
So
the teachings, I started to read more about reincarnation and about karma, and it was a nice idea, but that's about as far as it went for me. It was just this idea. You know, being raised Christian, we didn't really have those ideas in the way that, in our studies.
yeah.
So also during that time, I met this really interesting lady that was doing the yoga teacher training with me, and she said that she was guided to teach me Reiki, and I didn't really know what that meant, to be guided, and who was guiding or what was guiding, and I didn't know what Reiki was either. So I went to my Reiki 1 training, not really knowing anything about Reiki, and had a really profound experience. So this is
Wow.
when I first started getting into energy awareness and working with energy as a way of healing. And then that journey continued. I ended up moving to Utah, and because they had a really nice yoga community there, and I was studying dance at the University of Utah, and started to meet other people that were on this path, with their bright, shiny eyes and their big hearts, and started to have more conversations about this topic. Um, Around then, I did the second level of Reiki, and at that time, my partner Ron, who is my beloved and also my business partner with Transformotion, which I'll explain a little bit more here in a little bit, but we started to share our stories of how our awakening process had started, and how we wanted to combine the worlds of contemporary dance training and also the practices of spirituality and the metaphysical studies. And that's really how Transformotion started. We saw what was missing in the dance training, which was really spirit and energy, and started to combine them into our classes and experimenting with how to make that congeal, and how to make it, work together.
Oh,
Um,
that's beautiful.
yeah, and then soon I did my master level training and started teaching others about Reiki, and I so love, especially the level 1, like to take a person and to guide them into discovering their power, and to turn their what used to be just simple hands into a powerful tool for transformation for themselves and for their families and for their community, and eventually the world. Um,
Wow. I
yeah,
really want to study more Reiki.
yeah,
It's something that I've been like looking into.
yeah. And then from there, I think my partner and I got married, and I went to Burning Man. This is the first time I'd been to Burning Man, and I really was immersed in the transformational culture and this wave of spirituality that was really starting to emerge in the friendships that I was making and the different events that I was going to.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, there's some more traveling, some more journeying, some more meeting of people. And I feel like this is when I really started to find people that were like me. I had spent all of my life, even in my family, feeling separate and feeling very different than those who are around me. And this is the point where I'm really starting to find others that are having a similar story and are starting to awaken. And then we moved to Portland. We started doing something called the Sun and Moon courses, which were transformational courses that followed astrology and had some basic metaphysical studies as well as embodiment and dance practices.
Mm.
Um, yeah.
This
And
sounds
then,
exciting.
yeah. And then this is when actually I was teaching a friend of mine Reiki. I was doing like a level 1 teaching with him, and he handed me this book as a gift. And immediately when I held this book in my hands, I knew that it was something really powerful and was going to change my life. I don't know if you've ever held a book like that or something that was just like, okay, what is this? So I start reading the book. It's called The Three Waves of Volunteers and the New Earth by Dolores Canon.
I had the same experience with that book. I just saw, I'm so surprised you're saying that, because I saw a picture of it on Instagram, and and there were 3 books there. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is that? I had to take a picture of that. And I was like, oh my gosh, this book, I need this book right now. This is something really special. And I got it, and it just became like a really like interesting book, and I remember everything from it. Wow, so that's so interesting that we have the same book, the three waves of volunteers. Yeah, because she has lots of books.
She has like 20 different books. And so so these books are all compilations of, so to tell you a little bit about Dolores Cannon. So she started experimenting with hypnosis before the New Age thing had started, before the New Age had begun, and all this different metaphysical stuff was emerging. And a doctor in her area had sent someone to her to deal with overeating and dealing with some habits that she wanted to move beyond so she could have better health. And while she was in this deep state of relaxation, she ended up re-experiencing a past life in the 1920s in Chicago with the gangs during the Prohibition era, and
Wow.
relived the whole experience there. And this was really new because at this point, reincarnation and past life stuff was not really being talked about in Western culture at all. So through many years of experimenting, she developed this technique called quantum healing hypnosis technique. And she was starting to get not only past life information, but was starting to make contact with other higher forms of intelligence, such as the angelic realm, teachers and guides. This might be new information for people, but she was starting to get really loving, really clear information, from different energies. And then what she also started to notice was another energy was coming through sometimes. It was very powerful. And if you've ever had a quantum healing hypnosis session, you'll know this feeling. So the energy in the room changes. It can be felt. The client also feels energy going through the body as this energy starts to realign the energetic system in the body. But it would also give very clear advice, very loving advice, and knows everything about that person, their hopes, their dreams, what's blocking them, what's keeping them from really living that full life that they really desire. So she called this energy the subconscious because she didn't know what to call it then. And then as she's continued to share this information with people, she heard about the oversoul or the higher self or the Christ consciousness, or, there's so many different words for this thing.
Yeah.
So she called it the subconscious, but the subconscious said that you can call it whatever you want. It has no name. It is all names. And so this part is what really makes quantum healing hypnosis so powerful, because it's not just a dip into eternity randomly, but the subconscious, the higher self, actually guides the scenes that are most appropriate for the person to see for their advancement. And then once we go through the scenes, sometimes we can go between 1 to maybe 5 different past lives and see all of the different events that happen there. The person can experience this visually for sure, but then also emotionally, sensationally. They may hear things, they may smell things. Really, all of the senses are involved in this reliving. And then from there, I call the subconscious forward to speak. And people say that this feels like the wisest version of themselves, that it's very pure and very clear. And then I ask, why these scenes were shown, what's important for this person, why is it important for this person to see and experience this now, and how it can help them. But then we also go through a list of questions that the client brings about their life, about their soul purpose, about their relationships, about their career. And the subconscious will answer those questions and give the appropriate information that the person really needs. And right away, I was starting to get really powerful information, not just for the client, also for me, and also for the world. So you can find on our YouTube channel, you can find some really great videos that clients have shared with people. But Dolores did.
So what is the name of your YouTube channel? Just tell us the name.
I think it's just Transformotion.
Transformotion.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can find it on our website as well, transformotion.org. But so similar to these sessions that I do with people, Dolores did thousands and thousands of sessions all across the world. And these books are compilations of those different sessions, spanning a bunch of different topics. But the one that I watched, or the book that I read first, The 3 Waves of Volunteers, was specifically about this period of awakening and about the changes that are happening in the heart of people, but also in the planet itself. And so she would get information from somebody in one part of the world and then get the continuation of that story from somebody else on the other side of the world a few weeks later. Yeah. And I was starting to experience the same stuff right away, really powerful, really beautiful things. And so I started, I read the book, my partner read the book, and then he felt really inspired to look up how we could train and how we could learn this technique. And we did her online course. She's now transitioned, so now there's people that are teaching the method for her. Or you can also do an online course, which is one of her courses that she did in person that's recorded. And just in the training, I went through so much transformation to see, wow, this is very powerful. This is something very different than even like the Reiki that I was doing or things that were coming through meditation. This was something of a higher caliber. And we did the training, and right away we started doing, many, many sessions with people and getting to know them and hearing all the beautiful stories that people carry. And then also getting to see the really unique and beautiful part of them, which is the eternal part that has gone through many different lifetimes, learning and discovering itself, and that we all contain this. We all are really incredibly unique beings. And this work actually helps to bring that more to the forefront of a person's reality so that they can see that they're actually much bigger and much more special than they knew.
Yeah. Wow, it's so exciting. I'm thinking, do I have the book now somewhere close by? Maybe I could show it, but I'm thinking disappeared, that book. Maybe it's in another room. Yeah. But the one thing that I learned from Dolores Canon, but also from many other kind of people who channel like higher information, right? Spiritual information. And everybody repeats the same thing. And that is that we live in a very special time on our planet, right? When we are truly needed. And the 3 waves of volunteers are really just 3 different people of different ages that came to Earth to help rebuild it anew, right? Because, you might want to talk a little bit about that.
So I found a couple different things, and one of them is, so when I would take people through hypnosis, sometimes they would have a lifetime that was a couple different things. Maybe they were in another planet or another dimension. Maybe there's a space in between each life as well, which we call heaven, some people call heaven. But in this stage, this is where people start to plan their next incarnation, the lessons that they want to learn, the things that they want to achieve, the people that they're going to be involved with to help them with their work as well. And in this, people started to talk about when they would come to Earth, that they were coming to Earth for this really big event, this big awakening. I like to think of it as like a beautiful sunrise. You know, we're at this time where the sun is starting to come up and the birds are starting to chirp and the plants are starting to offer their smells and their flowers. And we're really in this really special time. You know, the Native American, some tribes call this the Great Spring. The Mayans had their term for it. The Christian religion also has their term for it. So there's this really beautiful, incredible event that's happening here on this planet, both on the planet, but also in the heart of each person if they're open to it happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see it like spring more, like we are kind of like emerging from a long winter and in our civilization, and finally even like we're receiving more knowledge. And one of the knowledge is to be able to do the hypnosis, to be able to go into past life. Like before, people wouldn't even dare to think about or dream about something like that, right? Like if I tell something like that to my parents, they're like, "Ooh, what are you talking about?"
Yeah.
And it's because
Something that I started to notice too is that we're really coming out of like this dark time that was so heavy with fear. There are so many fear-based beliefs and rules and regulations about what we are able to ask. That's the biggest one. Like the questions aren't even
right.
allowed to be asked, you know, and people are starting to say, no, I want to know the answer to this. I want to know a deeper truth because I'm not satisfied with the definition of who I am and what this world is. I want to know more. And
Mm-hmm.
through practices like quantum healing hypnosis, and then, you know, there are many other forms now that are emerging for people to tap into that deep wisdom that they hold. And I think it's a wonderful time. I'm super excited to see people going through their transformation and starting to wake up and to connect more with their heart and to share their love more freely.
Yeah, and one of the like core ideas is the sovereignty, right? Before we were like, oh, we have to have like these specialists, the priests, or uh, I don't know who, some special person who can do it.
Yeah.
And now it's more like, no, you have the right, you can do it, and you are able,
Yeah.
you have the access.
That's a
So
really great point because, you know, for so long in this planet, spirituality was these deep mystery teachings were reserved only for a select handful of people.
yeah,
And you might have had to travel thousands of miles to get to it, or have to have a certain amount of money or be accepted into it. But now this information is emerging in the individual, which is really what I find to be the best teaching, is when you can guide a person into their own teaching, into their own inner knowing. And so they can experience truth in their own body and not think that truth is something that's far away from you, or that you have to do something to get to truth, that it's really something that you can invite into your experience yourself.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like now we have internet, and the same way that spiritual truth is available for everyone.
Yeah.
Just type in the Google question, and the
Yeah.
answer comes up.
Yeah.
Wow. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, that's why it's good to have some people are not used to asking about the past lives, and that's why workshops like yours is really good, because it's like a door opening right into that world, and
Yeah.
it could be like a little bit scary for someone,
Yeah,
right?
people come with, oh, you know, they're not really sure. I know, like the group regression kind of work that we're doing. I just led a group the other day, and this was kind of the question: is like the idea of reincarnation and past lives is nice, but there's a little, people are afraid of what they might discover if they look, you know, and what I've seen people come awaken to inside of themselves is really so beautiful. And this technique doesn't show you anything that's going to damage you. You can, everything that you're going to see is going to be something that's there for your uplifting, and
Right.
to, you know, to open your heart even more to who you are. And um, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they won't tell you something you're not ready to hear.
No, 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 no. it's coming with such love, and this is such a, they're really excited. When I say they, the guides, the teachers, are those that, are really here, the souls that are supporting us are really excited about this, because it's just emerged. There's thousands of these practitioners and many, many people that are doing this kind of work. And we've never had on this planet before such a large scale awakening. It's like, you can see this in everyone in their story. People are starting to be like, oh, I'm wanting something deeper. I'm wanting something more aligned with my truth that I feel inside of myself. And yeah.
Yeah, I am like every day surprised when I talk to someone who I have not expect that they would even like suspect anything about past life, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I've been kind of thinking about, I might have like lived somewhere else before." I was like, "Yeah, you were definitely like," and
Yeah.
it's not like we had five past lives.
Yes.
Most of us had like
Many.
many, many, many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Many, 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 many. And we've been in many forms. We've been both male and female. We've been the mother, we've been the father, we've been the child, we've been the parent. We've played so many different roles in this game, which I call this place the Earth School. We come here and we have many things to learn, and they're emotional based. And as you learn each emotion, as you master each emotion, you move to the next level of emotions to work with.
Yeah.
And yeah,
It's like a little like higher frequency where you can handle more a little bit, right? Like
yeah,
bigger emotions,
yeah,
bigger love,
yeah, yeah.
and
And if
bigger
I think
opening.
back to that time in New York when I had that questioning to the point that I am now, it's just like I'm in a whole new category of questions that I'm asking, and
Mm,
more a different level of discovery and potency. That yeah, it's very enriching and really lovely.
yeah. Um, yeah, so this is very exciting. Um, so, so we did talk about a little bit about the soul journey, right? And how people are awakening to that and realizing that they have had past lives.
Mhm.
And just on a margin, I feel like right now there are also many writers and creatives that draw on past life. And like
Mhm.
for example, you could have in the past master something that you have forgotten, right? Like for example, writing
Mhm.
or dancing, whatever it was. And maybe you could just, or you were like super powerful person, right?
Yeah,
Like great leader.
yeah, yeah,
And you could go into the past. So if you could talk about that a little bit, how could
yeah,
that work?
yeah. So the story that comes to mind right now is a client that I was working with has had a really challenging life with their family, and really has never felt that feeling of family and closeness and support and love. And when they were traveling through their past life, they experienced a whole lifetime where they had this, where they
Mm.
got to experience the love of a mother and the support of a father, and to have children and to just be in that loving state. And it was so incredibly healing for them, because not only did they see it, but they felt it in their body.
Right.
And with that feeling of that in their body, they were able to release that gripping and that holding around their heart, and be able to, you know, be more free and be more open. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that is just so, it's a huge breakthrough that this kind of thing can make for you.
Every session is a miracle. It's just like, so, I'm sitting there next to the client, seeing them go through this really beautiful experience, and then I'm also transforming through observing them and through seeing them. And every time they're just blown away by how powerful they are. And when I say powerful, I mean, we have, through so many different events and through so many belief systems in this life, we have really reduced ourselves collectively to something that's very small and powerless. And people are starting to emerge from that and really starting to reclaim their strength and their sovereignty and their self-love, their self-care. And I think it's really beautiful. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
everyone benefits when a person is aligned with the truth of who they are. The whole room comes to life when someone is there in their alignment, in their heart space. So I think it's really important. And one of the most powerful tools that we have right now for the transformation that's needed on this planet is to guide people back to their truth and back to their heart, back to their power.
Yeah, exactly. Um, you say that and it is really true. Like the whole room can feel, it can be uplifted by one person that is in their heart.
Yeah.
It's so simple. We think that transformation is so hard and that we have to fight for it and that we have to like, I don't know, be the politicians or whatever, but
Yeah.
it's really just being present with another person, communicating from the heart, and then they see it, and maybe they won't like realize it right away, but something their soul registers
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And
That's
I'm
why.
finding, there is some like deep work. There is kind of this like efforting that is part of the work. But there's also what I'm discovering in myself is that it's so much more about allowing the love to come through us, allowing the universe to come through us versus trying to create love or trying to create positivity. It's already there. We just have to allow the blockages that we have to dissolve so that we can allow the love of the universe to work through us. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I just wrote something like that, that, we think that our life has to happen like in these structures of our expectation, where instead it's more like flood, and you just have to like take the walls down of your expectation and just like learn to swim. Oh, okay. Vroom, vroom.
Yeah, like Abraham Hicks has these beautiful sayings about, when you hold a cork underwater, you just have to let it go and it'll naturally rise to the top. Or,
Yeah.
when it's difficult to paddle upstream, you can just lift your legs up and allow yourself to go with the flow. And that's so contradictory to what our teachings in our culture has taught us, that there's no pain, no gain. You have to work hard to succeed. You have to, and there are certainly moments of effort that are needed, but there's so much that we miss because we're so focused on pushing through,
Hmm.
that we forget to see that there's all this beauty around us that's supporting us. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. Well, we mentioned they, right? So I just want to clarify that. Who is that? Who is talking to us? Are they like some demons, or I'm sure no one is thinking it's
Yeah.
demons, but
That's a really lovely question because I don't believe in demons. I believe that we're all beings of light. We're all aspects of source. We may have forgotten parts of that, but we're all on this path. All beings are on this path of remembering that love and remembering that connection. So when I talk about they, I talk about souls that have accomplished certain lessons, right? I talked about the Earth School. When we get to a certain level of our awareness and our soul, then we don't come back into this path of samsara, back into the wheel of karma, but that we're able to be guides and teachers for those that are still here. So some people talk about their guardian angel, or they think that maybe they feel the presence of their grandmother or somebody with them that is guiding them. And when I talk about this is what I talk about. I talk about those beings of love, of care and compassion that are offering us support if we're open to receive it. There's so much support coming at all moments, whether that be through an intuitive knowing in your body, a gut instinct, or maybe you have a thought that comes through your mind. There's so many different ways that our non-physical friends can support us and offer their information. But I find that when someone's really at the beginning of starting to listen to that information, I always guide them back to their body. Their body is the wisest teacher
mm,
that they have access to right away. And just start to pay attention to those intuitive impulses and those little nudges that you get. And just for fun, just to follow it and start to practice that. And then eventually you can develop a deeper relationship. But this is the core that I teach, is to come back to the body and to listen to what the body is offering, because this is how the higher self really communicates with us. This is how your soul communicates with your personality, is through the body, whether that be a sensation that you have, tingles, chills, a feeling of energy in the heart or something. This is when like when you're having an expansive moment or a contractive moment, the higher self, the soul, is really offering you information there. And as we start to come back into the body with practices like Kundalini, other practices of yoga, Qigong, transformation practice, this is like we start to take less of our attention on the outer perception and more awareness to the inner realm and to what's happening in the body. And this is also through quantum healing hypnosis, that as in some cases, we're getting these nudges, we're getting this information in our body through emotions. Emotions are huge. And that if we continuously repress them and ignore them, they start to get louder and louder and louder to get our attention, right? And so eventually it manifests as something like dis-ease, right? Or illness or some other type of imbalance. And so when I'm working with someone with quantum healing hypnosis, I ask the higher self, the subconscious, why this disruption, why this dis-ease is in the body. And so the subconscious will give a very clear reason of like when this started, why it's there, what's trying to be communicated. And if the lesson is learned, if all of that is now in the awareness of the person, and if it's appropriate, there can be instantaneous healing that happens for the person. And I've had all kinds of incredible stories. And if you start to read Dolores's books or check her out online, you'll also get to hear some really beautiful stories of how people have reclaimed their health and balance in their body through really starting to tap into their deeper knowing.
Yeah, just understanding, right? That's all it takes sometimes. And you think like, oh, Jesus was creating miracles, but he was probably just doing this work, connecting people with their higher self. Yeah.
I so love the teachings of Jesus, and what I really believe, and Dolores has some really great books about Jesus as well, about his studies with the Essenes and the different metaphysical schools that he learned from.
Wow, I should
And I
look into
really
it.
believe that he came as a messenger to embody this information so that could be possible for many people. But through his teachings and what he, if you really look at the core and the essence of what he was teaching, he says that this is available to everybody. So he became an example to really, show people that this is possible. And it's not just one person anymore.
Yeah. Exactly. It got all like screwed up later with religion and priests, and then he is the only son of God. No one else is the son of God. It's like, what?
Well, we have this, there's another really great book called The Seat of the Soul by Gary Zukov, where he wrote this book many years ago, but he talked about this shift from the five sensory human. So for so long, we've been using taste, touch, smell, hearing, and that was our systems of knowing if we were safe. And we developed entire institutions and systems based off of that control that we needed to have for survival. The way that our relationships are structured, the way that our businesses are structured. There's always one person or a select few people that are in power, and then everybody else under that kind of bows down to that power. But now what's happening as we're all starting to awaken and start to develop more senses and more multisensory awareness, we're starting to now shift relationship now into spiritual relationship where everyone is seen as equal. And now we're going to have to start to create new language that goes along with that as well, and start to change our communal structures and our personal structures as well to match that we are much more than this physical temporary experience, and that we can honor that in one another and see each other for being the incredibly gifted spiritual beings that we are.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. I feel it. I feel the change happening right now, and I see it every day. And I mean, it's not like, the change doesn't happen from day to day, but you see it over time, and maybe it's going to take us 200 years even, but it's a slow progress, right? And it's just so beautiful how we going to start communicate on a completely different level with each others.
Yeah. And what you just brought up is really important. So for me, I started from a really young age. I was starting to look at different philosophies and ideas about this time. And it really, sometimes it's really uplifting, and then sometimes it can get really confusing when you start to look at timelines of like, how long is it going to happen? This transition, is it going to be quick? Is it going to be slow and gradual? But what I've really come to believe is that what's most important is each individual's personal transformation. That's more important than anything. So for me, instead of getting lost in all of the what ifs and is this possible, I'm really focusing on my own awakening, getting myself more clean, more open, healing my old stuff, and empowering my future, but then also supporting others who are also going through this. And that's really the most important, is to stay really close to the present moment and emerge from that. Instead of getting, because then that, I think then that's a system of control. If we're starting to look too far into the future, and really what we're doing now is really becoming more present, more embodied in the now.
Yeah, exactly. And to me, if I could just make an example how it looks to be present, or like how to like create, it's basically reacting towards life in a different way, in a much higher way. Like instead of, getting angry at something or frustrated at something, reacting to it from the higher space a little bit. That's all that transformation, I guess, means to me. React from when I have a chance, because certain situations repeat themselves over and over until you kind of like yes, react to them in a different way, and they will repeat until you finally tap it and react to it the way you should from your higher self.
Yeah.
So that is just what the transformation is.
That keep coming back. Sometimes I'll see in a past life regression that this cycle started a long time ago, and it's still coming back around and around and around. And I'm sure you probably are aware of some of the things that keep coming around. Oh, you're like, oh, there's that thing again. This is the higher self offering this opportunity again to choose the path of love and trust versus the path of fear and doubt. And I really think when we start to look at emotions as information versus a good emotion and a bad emotion, but that they're just energy information that's available to us to empower us to move to the next level, then we can really start to have fun with life. When we look at, things aren't happening to make us feel any certain way. We're feeling that way because of how the information, because of the beliefs that we're holding. And if we can start to look at those beliefs, oh, when somebody does this, I feel angry because I believe this about myself and that person. Oh, that's not really serving me, and it actually takes energy from me. I can look at that belief and start to craft it and start to transform it into a belief that serves everybody. And then we can move to the next level of that emotional awareness and power.
Yeah. Oh, I love talking to you. I really feel like, like we are completely like resonating on so many levels. And I think it's a total example of the evolution, right? Of the consciousness for everyone else. So they know we never met, right? We just met online through like a mutual friend, and then discovered that we have like all these like similar interests, and we can talk, and I feel like, oh my gosh, like you studied the same thing, and it's just an example of how it is when you are tuned into your higher self. Like all of a sudden there is this umbrella that like is about all of us and connects us all. And it's kind of funny. There's and imagine how many more people there are like that, and we never strike the conversation. We never, get to know them. So,
and I think when we start to build those bridges with people, especially the ones that we're resistant to, I feel like the ones that we kind of shrink away from, those people have the strongest medicine for us. We have to see what it is that's causing that contraction in us. And they might be experiencing something similar as well. So when we start to open that conversation, when we start to connect at that heart level, we can see, what we're each holding that can be healing for another person. But if we keep those walls up then we'll never have access to that. So let's take down the walls and let's build the bridges. And
Yeah. Yeah. Even if it's like a tiny little Spider-Man string, right?
yeah,
And if the other person catches, it's like, okay, good.
yeah, just the smile, just your radiance is so much for somebody who hasn't seen a happy face maybe in a while, or hasn't felt seen. That can be
Yeah.
so much for somebody.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about this workshop. It's actually happening on May 6th. It's a Saturday. It's going to be from 3:30 to 6:30 at Narayana Center in Brooklyn, in Greenpoint. And we just have this wonderful room prepared for you in a way where you can completely relax. It is safe, it is guarded, and completely like uh, purified for you to feel relaxed and have the highest experience you can have. Both of us are going to be guarding the space and making sure that you have this experience. So tell us a little bit about what is going to happen.
Yeah, so I will do a little explanation about quantum healing hypnosis, a little bit about Dolores and how she um, cultivated this technique. And we'll go through some simple visualizations. Some people are afraid that they can't be hypnotized. And so this form of hypnotism is actually a guided visualization. So if you've ever done guided meditations of any kind, then you'll do beautifully with this. If you've never done it, you're going to have such a lovely treat. It's really easy. So I'll have people lie down and we'll visualize some really familiar things so that you can start to get used to using that part of the mind. And then we'll talk about it a little bit and kind of discuss it and start to, awaken our awareness through our senses, through our hearing, through all this stuff. And then we'll lie down for the actual past life regression. And again, this is just a visualization that we'll go through, and it'll guide you down into a really nice, relaxed state so that you can really listen to your body and listen to your awareness. And then from there, we'll go through a little journey. We'll see one whole lifetime, and we'll go through different stages that are important for you to see. This is all being guided by the higher self, by the subconscious. And that includes the death experience, the death event. There is no death. There's just transformation to the next thing. So it's nothing to be scared of. And from that place, you'll be able to see what the purpose was of that lifetime, what you learned, and feel why it's important for you to know that and to remember that now. Then we'll come out of it and we'll talk about it as a group. And if you feel called to, you can share your experience. We'll bring a notebook so that you can write it down. And then I'll have you lie down again, and through another visualization, we'll go and we'll meet one of our guides, one of our teachers, a presence that is offering us support. In this visualization, they'll give you a gift, and they'll also give you a message. They'll also give you their name. So then you can, when you're starting to work with your guide, you can start to use that name to kind of send out a vibrational call for information for your guide. And then from there, we'll come out of it and we'll talk about that again. You'll write some more. And then we'll go, for fun, we're going to go and see a future incarnation. And so you'll get to choose 1, 2, and 300 years in the future. And if you know anything about time, you know that it's not really linear. We experience linear time in this form, but there are so many options. Every choice that you make, there's another version of you that chooses the other choice, that lives that off. That lives in that direction. So we're going to choose, you'll choose between 1, 2, and 300 years, and you'll get to see what life could be like in the future for you in a different form. Yeah. It's
Amazing. It's so much fun. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. And the biggest part that for people is just that they're able to relax. They just have to relax and allow themselves to be open, and that'll be much easier. It'll be very easy after they've done the Kundalini practice with you and some of the meditation practices with me as well, and it'll be nice and easy, and you'll get a lot of really valuable information for yourself.
Yeah. And I want to say, because I felt like I wouldn't be able to go into like past life. I wouldn't be able to be hypnotized or, see anything. And it's not true. I've done it and I did it all by myself at home with just the recording and it happened. And I saw my past life and and I felt it and I just felt the sadness of it and I just understood everything. And all of a sudden, it's just things starts to make more sense then.
Yeah.
It's just
And
really
there's like this belief that hypnotism is like this thing with the shiny object, and
yeah. It's not.
but now it's not like that anymore. They've really advanced it a lot since then, and everyone passes through hypnosis many times throughout the day. If you've
Mm.
ever been driving a
Mm.
car and you get into that kind of like glossy-eyed kind of view, that's a level of hypnosis. Or if you're
Mm.
watching television or watching your phone for longer than 60 seconds and you get that kind of same like relaxed trancy feel, that is also hypnosis.
Oh.
The level that we'll be working in is called the somnambulistic level, and this is the part like when you're starting to fall asleep and those beautiful pictures and images
Mm.
and feelings start to come in. This is the level that we'll be working at. So everyone that will be there has already gone through that level at least once when they woke up that day. So it's very
Oh.
natural, it's very easy, and everyone can do it. It's really,
Yeah. And the cool thing is that then you'll start believing it's possible and have more access then to
yeah.
that other realm.
Yeah. I would suggest maybe like a couple days before, if you have a meditation practice that you like to do, or if you have a way of calming yourself and collecting yourself, taking a nice bath,
Mm.
treating yourself, and just start to get in touch with your body and get in touch with your heart, and that'll make it even more successful. So
Oh,
yeah.
beautiful. I'm so looking forward to it. Anything else you would like to mention?
I'm just really excited to meet everybody. I lived in New York City for 5 years, and it's such a healing for me to come back in this capacity and to connect
Mm.
with the people there, and to rediscover myself there through the love that we'll build together. So I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, oh, that's beautiful.
I'll also be bringing some of Dolores's books as well,
Mm.
so that if anybody wants to purchase a book to take home to like deepen the study of her work, then that'll be possible as well.
Her books are awesome. So yes, and so fascinating. Like it's incredible. You read it and
Yeah,
oh.
yeah, yeah. It's a beautiful life we have. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Well, okay. Very nice talking to you. I'm so happy
yeah,
about this interview that it worked out.
yeah,
We'll put it up to many different places.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, many blessings.